Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Missing Real with your host, Mike Darrigo. Now this is episode 2, but it's really about episode 4. And if that makes no sense to you, just stick with it a minute. The best movie ever, probably, at least in the 70s, for someone growing up and capturing the magic of cinema, would be Star Wars. But of course, now we have to call it by its proper title, A New Hope. I don't know where they came up with that lame-ass title, but A New Hope is a good name for a town in Pennsylvania. It's a good name for a sappy movie of the week on the Hallmark Channel, but not for Star Wars. Come on. Anyway, New Hope, but I'm going to call it Star Wars today in honor of May the 4th, which I hope I'm getting this podcast released on to celebrate the geekiest holiday known to man, next to, of course, 4/26. But May the 4th be with you all as you listen to this podcast, and also May the 4th be with Peter Mayhew, Chewbacca, our co-pilot, our first mate, who we recently lost. This will be in honor of him, unless it sucks, and he might have hated it, and then in that case, it's for somebody else. Onward now to Star Wars, 1977. The screen is black. The words appear. They're prophetic. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Star Wars, big words in your face. Getting smaller. All right, you know the rest. So the big opening crawl, which has become famous in these movies, and so cool because it's not just words going up telling you what's up. It's words drifting off into space. Big yellow words drifting off into space. These words are basically telling us the reason why, in fact, there are Star Wars. So as these words drift away, we see a star field, we see a ship being pursued by a much, much bigger ship. They're in hot pursuit. Follow those words! But no, actually, they're chasing this little shuttle, which is carrying the princess and the stolen plans to the Empire's battle station. So when they get the ship, well, when the big ship, the Star Destroyer, gets the little ship, it sucks it in with a tractor beam. Empire has a lot of tractor beams now, pretty much anything bigger than a car is equipped with a tractor beam. So they capture this ship, and then in the next moments, we are introduced to one of cinema's most iconic and unforgettable villains, Darth Vader, in his black armor and his scary mask and his sleep apnea apparatus. We don't even know if that's what he sounds like when he's sleeping. I mean, he could be snoozing off at a boring, regional governor's meeting. No one would be the wiser. But anyway, he walks in a cloud of dust when the rebels are basically getting taken down by the stormtroopers in a rare show of accuracy. And what really makes this character unforgettable is the unmistakable voice of James Earl Jones behind it all. And just hearing it, yeah.
The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force.
Oh yeah, well what about the power to sense your own daughter standing right in front of you twice, and she slipped through your fingers? The problem with Vader's voice is, it's always really scary and deep, but a couple of scenes in the start of Star Wars, when he shows up on the shuttle and he's like interrogating people, he sounds a little bit like more high-pitched, a little kind of like, almost like he's a gangster in some old James Cagney movie, you know what I mean? Like a, "Commander, tear that ship apart till you found those plans, and bring me the passengers." Goes up to the princess. "Listen, Tut, you better hand over them Death Star plans, okay, she?" It's just all about the voice, if you don't get the voice right, it's just not effective. The same as, like, who knows, underneath all that armor and that terrifying, fearsome mask, like, it could be anybody in there, right? It could be freaking Gilbert Gottfried.
"And now we will discuss the location of your hidden rebel base. But, can we hurry up? I haven't had lunch yet."
Anyway, the droids escape with the plans. Princess gets captured and hauled off to the Death Star for interrogation. So our action switches now to the desert planet of Tatooine, where we meet our hero, Luke Skywalker. Now, Luke, he ain't much of a hero to start off with. He's just basically working on a farm, he has to hang out with his aunt and uncle. He's got some friends somewhere, but he never seems to get to go out with them, and can't even go to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters. He's always just stuck with Uncle Owen, and Uncle Owen's a drag, Harvest is what I need you the most. Well, what exactly are we harvesting here? Sand? Look around you, man. My life sucks. The best part of my day is a glass of blue milk. So yeah, we're like in this barren desert environment, no plants, no animals, no cows, so where's this blue milk coming from? I don't know. And they have one interesting day where they buy the droids that have happened to have been captured by Jawas, these little scavenger, munchkin kind of guys running around in dirty robes. So R2 and C-3PO are now the property of Luke, and Luke takes off the restraining bolts from these droids. Those are kind of like alarm tags, in case somebody tries to shoplift them from the Jawas, I guess. But when he pops that bolt off, R2 shows him a really quick little tease of a hologram of Leia and her message. And Luke is like dumbstruck. He's like, who is she? She's beautiful. Master Luke, it appears you're the one who needs a restraining bolt. So Luke has to keep his little hormones there in check, that's your sister. And eventually R2 skips town in the middle of the night because, working on moisture evaporators sucks. So next morning, Luke and 3PO head out looking for R2 in Luke's land speeder, probably the only cool thing he owns. And they track him down. R2's bitching about finding his master, and before long, the Sand People are upon them, kicking their asses, trying to jack Luke's land speeder. But what saves them? From out of nowhere comes this hooded figure waving his arms around and letting out this blood-curdling scream. Although it's not that blood-curdling. It's more like, about as scary as somebody blowing their nose or Chewie with laryngitis. But anyway, every time Star Wars comes out again with those, tweaked versions that George Lucas tinkers with and remixes, he changes the scream a little bit, but they don't get any better. In fact, they get worse. But the scream is Obi-Wan Kenobi just trying to scare off the Sand People. Anyway, if you want a really scary remix scream, I don't know, I suggest try one of these, perhaps. So Obi-Wan rescues Luke and the droids, brings him back to his little clay hut, gives Luke a lightsaber, which once belonged to his father. Now here's where it gets tricky, see. Luke wants to know. He asks, he goes, how did my father die? And Obi-Wan's like, you could see he's like pausing. He's thinking. He's like drumming up his story and whatever. He's like, a young Jedi named Darth Vader, who was a pupil of mine. He betrayed and murdered your father. Now, if only R2 had like a built-in bullshit detector, he could have like, called Obi-Wan on his shit, but he doesn't. So Luke just goes on believing this crap for the whole movie, thinking that Darth Vader killed his dad, but we'll find out otherwise later. So now Luke's got to get home. He's in trouble with his aunt and uncle, and he gets there, sees his home is like billowing black smoke. Did Aunt Beru burn the bantha stew? No. The stormtroopers were there looking for the droids, and they incinerated Luke's home, Luke's aunt and uncle. They're like burning black ashes on the ground, skeletons all charred, and wow, it's like pretty harsh, man, for a Star Wars movie. They got a lot cuter and gentler after this, but that was intense, man. Traumatizing for a kid. So Luke's got nothing else to do except head off with Obi-Wan and try to become a Jedi like his father and play with his new lightsaber. So they head off to Mos Eisley Spaceport, and they go to the Cantina, which is probably the coolest place in all the Star Wars universe because you got a jazz band, you got blue milk on tap, but better than that, you got Chewbacca and Han Solo, the coolest duo in the entire series ever, and just Han Solo's he's a badass, man. So after they come up with a deal where he could let them hire his ship, take him to Alderaan, blah, blah, blah. Han's about to leave, and then he's confronted by this green rubber mask dude, Greedo, who's speaking to him about some money he owes to Jabba the Hutt, a gangster who we're not going to see yet until 2 movies later, but was filmed as just some fat guy. But they spent a lot more money later on, got some special effects going on, and we got the Jabba we know and love, the big, huge, lovable slug. But anyway, Greedo works for Jabba. Greedo wants to get paid. He's confronting Han. Han doesn't have time for this shit, so just blows his ass away. Just like that. Awesome, right? But no, George Lucas wasn't happy. years later, he would do his tinkering again. And this is so that he wouldn't be portraying Han Solo as some cold-blooded killer, because we're kids and it would rub off on us. So has Greedo shoot first, and then Han shoots him back. But what happens is Han dodges Greedo's laser blast. Though he doesn't quite dodge it, it's more like his head moves a fraction of an inch to the side. His body doesn't. His head moves over. It's kind of like a cut and paste in a Photoshop. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't buy it for a second. It looks so corny, and it sucks. Lucas, why do you keep meddling with perfection? It's like your films are your children, right? So if you have a perfect child, would you willingly give that child a deformity? Because he's making a habit of it, really. So, all right, later on, we come to a compromise. It's just the whole Han shot first dilemma, the argument amongst all the nerds, just pissing people off. Everyone hates Lucas. They want to make their own Star Wars now. So we came to a compromise. Han and Greedo agreed, let's shoot together. And it still sucks, but it's just, that's what you got. You know, you want the original, you have to dig it out from the old DVD vaults. So off we go. Han is going to be flying him off to Alderaan, or at least they think so. Luke sees his ship. What a piece of junk!
Oh yeah? Do you have hyperdrive and laser cannons on your little dune buggy, kid?
Okay. So they fly off, they're getting into a space battle, a couple of TIE fighters on their ass, and they chase one, but as they're chasing it, they're approaching a small moon, which is no moon, it's a space station. And they get caught, pulled in by the Death Star, again with the tractor beam, and they're captured, but they hide. They're in disguise. They're in stormtrooper costumes because they're clever. The stormtroopers are not so clever. One of them bumps his head on the doorframe as he's going into the room, and you geeks will know about this one, but there's really a funny thing online. If you check it out, there's like a connection between that stormtrooper who bumped his head and Supreme Leader Snoke. Check it out. It's real funny. But anyway, I don't want to get off on that tangent. Here we go. Back to Star Wars. So they're in the Death Star. Han and Luke go in there with Chewie. They try to rescue the princess. They end up in a garbage chute because princesses don't know how to, stage a good escape. And she's going to get her little white nightgown dirty. Oh, boo-hoo. So they're in the trash compactor, and they didn't realize it was a trash compactor, and it also has a monster in it, that takes Luke underwater. Who throws away their monster, really, when you got one? And then they almost get squished, but C-3PO and R2 fix everything. They get out. And meantime, Obi-Wan is trying to disable the tractor beam. Crawls out on this little tiny catwalk over a really steep drop. Now, if he was any decent Jedi worth his shit, he could just wave his hand and turn the thing off. But he has to go out there, balancing on the ledge. Yeah, right. Nobody hears that. But the stormtroopers hear the little, what was that? When Obi-Wan tries to distract them with his little pop sound. So anyway, yeah, off he goes. Elsewhere, Luke and Leia are being chased by stormtroopers, and they have to swing across this chasm because the bridge is not extended, and they blasted the controls. And Luke pulls out his utility belt. He's got a grappling hook, throws it, they swing across. Hey, not long ago he was just a farm boy. Now all of a sudden he's Batman with this utility belt crap. All right, look, Luke, if you want to be the Joker, yeah, that's a possibility. So pretty soon now we get to the really epic scene of the movie. One that I always thought was the coolest thing back then was the lightsaber duel between Vader and Obi-Wan. Now, you look back at it now, the lightsaber duel was pretty piss poor. We're talking after we've seen Darth Maul and all that shit, this New Hope lightsaber duel has very little hope. It's very, very badly choreographed. It's just a little bit, they barely look like they could even move. Obi-Wan does this pathetic little pirouette spin thing, and one point, it looks like his lightsaber's batteries are going dead. It's pretty lame. And then he just lets himself get disintegrated or whatever. And Vader's wiping his feet on his cloak. It's a shitty fight. But it was amazing back then. And our heroes escape thanks to Obi-Wan's sacrifice. And they go to the Rebel base. And Han just wants to cash in and split. Luke gets an X-Wing. Just like that. They put him inside of this probably multi-million-dollar, high-priced piece of technology. Hey, you got any flight experience, son? Beggars Canyon. All right, suit up. So they go to attack the Death Star with these XY wings and all these alphabetical spaceships that they go in and fighting the TIE fighters. And there's a big battle. It's really cool. And they have to get their torpedo right in this little hole in the Death Star to blow it up. That'll start a chain reaction. So everyone's trying to go down the trench and trying to shoot the hole. And one guy fires. It's away! And the Death Star shakes a little bit, but What was it hit? Negative, didn't go in, just impacted on the surface. That's what she said. All right, cut the chatter, Red 2. So almost all the other X-Wings are gone. Luke is like the last pilot alive. All the stormtroopers like pee, 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 blowing people up, and Vader is following them, and he's twisting this knob on the control. Like, it looks like he's trying to get a good radio station, not like he's trying to aim. But, Luke is just about to buy it. R2's already got shot and shut down. And just as Luke's about to get a laser hit, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Han Solo fires a couple of shots and fucks everybody up. Darth Vader's spinning around off into space, completely out of control. But I'm sure, he'll be all right. He'll go take a couple of Dramamine, and he'll be fine. He'll be drifting around for a while in space. Hopefully somebody picks him up. But he may encounter a few errant words flying around, a couple of yellow paragraphs. He'll have something to read while he's waiting to get rescued. So we don't care about him, but, there's the opening for a sequel. The Death Star is about to get blown up because Luke is a better shot. He fires his torpedo. He's using the Force and all that stuff, and and it goes in, and Luke is like, it's kind of sexual almost, But then the Death Star explodes, and there's all these little white dots, and there's a celebration back on Yavin, I think, because, it's not Alderaan anymore, sorry. And then they have the ceremony where they're honoring our heroes, and Leia gives them their medals and their accolades, and they stand and face the crowd of rebels, and the assembly is applauding them, and Chewbacca goes like, what he's really saying is, hey, where's my medal, bitch? And that's how Star Wars finishes, on a triumphant note. And it was just an unforgettable film, unforgettable experience, and I'm so glad they made more of them, even the ones that aren't so awesome, because it's Star Wars, man, come on. Love it. Well, that concludes my latest episode of Missing Real. It's a little longer than the first one, but I hope you were able to stay awake through it all, and I hope you'll be back for another next time, because we got lots more movies to cover. And until then, may the Force and the Fourth be with you.